been several books about the life of music icon Prince since he left us 9 years ago today. He passed away, but few have taken a close look at all of the spiritual messages in his work and what religion meant to him.
Pamela Ayo Yatunde is the founder of the Theology of Prince Project and an interfaith Pan-Buddhist practitioner. Her new book is Dearly Beloved Prince, Spirituality and This Thing Called Life. Good morning.
Good morning.
Well, I have to say, when I think of Prince, I mostly think of songs about sex, right?
Yes, Larry.
You're not alone.
Did you have to look hard for the theology? Are you projecting? Or
So his song, I Would Die For You,
sure,
was my first hint that, oh, he's singing about something other than sex. And I think having grown up in the church, I could hear that and know instinctively, oh, he's channeling something spiritual.
Was he a spiritual person his whole life, or was that something he came to later in life?
As far as I understand, he was a spiritual person from the very beginning.
Okay.
He was singing about sex. He was also singing about spirituality, sometimes not in the same songs, but over the course of his life, he began to merge the two. He was trying to figure out, how can sex be wrong if it's created by God, and God creates only good things? So that was his life's mission, I would say.
We saw Purple Rain right off the top. You say
Yes.
that there's biblical references all through that song.
Absolutely. Purple Rain is like being immersed in a baptism of goodness, holiness. That's what he's singing about.
okay, so, but again, you could find a religious metaphor for lots of different people's lyrics and so on. Do we know that was Prince's intention?
Well, with that song, I don't know for sure, but with songs like The Ladder, The Cross, When Doves Cry, I Would Die For You, I mentioned that.
Yeah.
Those are very obvious. A lot of implicit spirituality, but explicit as well.
For those who aren't Christian, what can they take out of the spirituality of his music?
Right. Well, we've been talking about the death of Pope Francis today.
Right.
And what comes up over and over again is love and mercy and service. Those are themes that Prince sang about throughout his entire career. Those themes are also in his movie, Graffiti Bridge. And I think non-Christians can learn a lot about serving others, compassion, empathy through listening to his music.
Yeah, I don't want to put you on the spot, but beyond, you mentioned When Doves Cry, and I'm trying to run the lyrics through my head. What in that song, because I think that's one of the more popular songs that most everybody knows.
Right.
There's some lines in there or themes in there that you say are spiritual?
Well, doves. Doves are a symbol of Christ and Christ's love and peace. So this is what it sounds like when the doves cry. It's like the deepest, most painful experience one can imagine when they imagine that God also weeps and cries and is in pain for how we treat each other.
You say you think Prince could be in the Gospel Hall of Fame.
Yes, Gospel Music Hall of Fame should be.
Do you think they've considered that?
I don't know if they have. I don't know.
Well, I mean, Dolly Parton's in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame.
Yeah, but Dolly Parton didn't sing about sex like Prince did.
That's true.
Yeah.
That's true.
When you go to your meeting at the theological seminary and say, "Hey, I want to talk about Prince," were they okay with that?
They were intrigued by it.
Yeah.
I didn't know it was something that was inside of myself. The question was, what can we do for people who want to attend seminary? And being at a progressive seminary, I said immediately, we can do the theology of Prince. And then the president at the time said, well, what would that mean? And I said, I have no idea. Walked out the office, and then that idea just stuck with me. And it took off after that.
So if he converted to being a Jehovah's Witness, which I really don't know much about, but as someone who is also not from that denomination, does it make you want to explore that what connection it might have to his music?
Well, one of the things that yes, the answer is yes. Prince had a difficult life. I think one of the most difficult things that I know about is the death of his son, which then led him to reach out for spiritual help that he got from bassist Larry Graham of Graham Central Station, which then led him to begin to become less interpretive and more literal as it relates to the Bible. And so you can also see that trajectory in his songs. It becomes more literal, and people criticized him for that.
Well, it's fascinating. The book is Dearly Beloved, Prince, Spirituality, and This Thing Called Life. We so appreciate you joining us this morning.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.